Worry.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Andrea, and welcome to our Crossover Champions podcast, where you're listening to one of the top podcasts in the nation, where we're going to be talking about you experiencing a breakthrough in life that you never thought was possible. Today on our show, and I'm so excited to have her as a guest. Today we have Dr. Cassie with us, and she's going to be talking about and discussing with us obstacles that she has overcome in life to bring her to where she is right now. And she's actually our first ever crossover champion because this is our first episode. And we are so excited to join the family of millions and millions of podcasters out there. And we're just here to bring you a plethora of knowledge on how you can get to your next, on how you can make your life work where you didn't even know it was even possible. So without further ado, we're going to introduce to you our special guest today, Dr. Cassie. Hi, Dr. Cassie.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. We're
Well,
doing
thank you.
well.
Thank you so much for having me on, and hopefully our conversation today can be helpful to other people out there.
Absolutely. And that is definitely our intent. And I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Cassie, because we want to welcome everyone into our podcast today and just enjoy yourself. We're going to be talking to you for another hour, 60 minutes or so. And the intent, as Dr. Cassie mentioned already, is for us to leave you with something that would enrich your life. And that's what our intent is today, is to leave you with something that will enrich your life and help you get to your next. Okay. Dr. Cassie, would you share a little bit about yourself?
Well, my full name is Cassandra Generalette. So in my regular life, I'm a primary care doctor. I live in Bangor, Maine, and we've been here. I moved here in 2010 as a resident, and I went home for a year. And home is originally the Caribbean, St. Martin to be exact. But then, I missed Maine and I came back. So yeah, that's me. I'm the mom of two kids. My son, his name is Taj, he's 10, and my daughter, her name is Naya, she's 7. I've been married 14 years, and that's pretty much me. And so, outside of being a physician, which I feel is the most important thing, as I mentioned, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I like to garden, I like to craft, I like to create, and that's me.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you so much for sharing a little bit about yourself. And I know you fans out there, you want to know a little bit about the host, and we'll get into a little bit about my background. But we just want to make sure that we are welcoming our guest today, and we're going to focus on Dr. Cassie and what she's going to bring to the table and what she's going to tell us and how she's going to enrich our lives. So I'm really excited to hear what she has to say. So Dr. Cassie, what is one thing you know about what you do that others may not know or they may miss?
You know, there's so many fallacies about what it is to be a doctor. We're supposed to be the best at everything that we do. We have everything together. We're filthy rich. Our days are easy, and we make a lot of money. We don't do very much. And to be honest, being primarily a family doctor, you see so much hardship. You walk into people's lives and they allow you to be, they're vulnerable with you. They share things that they don't even share with their family members. And it's a very tough job because you're hearing people's struggles, and you have to stay behind that desk. You help as much as you can, but there's always that professional boundary that you can't cross, and help them with this and help them with that. There's only so much you can do in that capacity. And the one thing that people miss about my job is that, or people don't know, is I hear so many stories, and everybody's going through the same exact thing. Whether you have billions of dollars in your pocketbook, whether you came from the best family, whether you're the most educated and have all these degrees, we're all going through the same thing.
And what is that thing, Dr. Cassie?
Where we are all struggling to be our authentic selves.
Mm,
We are all struggling in some way for finances. Oh, I think I lost you. You there?
yeah.
Everybody's trying to get ahead in a financial sense. I'm going to plug in my battery. In a financial sense, everybody's trying to, be the best person that they can be. And most importantly, we've all had traumas that we have to overcome.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow. Thank you so much. And I like the fact that you brought up what you just said was so powerful. It's such a rich conversation because you brought up some very key points. You talked about the authentic self. And a number of people in my arena, I've worked in K through 12 education for over 2 decades, and I started a couple of charter schools for disenfranchised youth over the years, and I worked with thousands of families over my tenure of being an educator. And I saw how the struggle with people, like you said, being there, being comfortable in the skin that they were born in.
Yeah.
Because by the time we're 8 years old, right, our personality is set, but there's maybe
Right.
something that happened where it made us feel like when we were a child that I didn't belong here. So my authentic self didn't belong here, so then I have to be a chameleon. you know I have to camouflage who I am so I can feel connected with the world. And the
Yeah.
more I become who I am not to become connected to the world, the more I push my authentic self down, and the more I feel more anxiety and depression because I just want to be me, right?
Right. So, it's just so much human nature to be in a group, because if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint, the person who was by themselves was at more risk for, getting eaten by predators and not being able
Mm,
to gather food. So it's just natural for us to want to be in a group, to be included, to have a community. And so we do all these different things to kind of fit into some form of community, which is good. We need that. We need community. And honestly, with all the social media and everything, we're so connected, but we still don't have community. But at the same time, when we walk into these communities, we're not being our authentic self. We want, well, this is what is socially acceptable, and this is what gets the most likes at this particular point, versus just being the authentic me and bringing something to the community that the community may not know they need, but they do need. You know what I mean? So
yes,
yeah, just struggling to be our authentic self. And I can share a little bit about me in my journey on being the most authentic
please,
self.
please.
I grew up in the Caribbean, and when I grew up, it's mom was very prim and proper, and a lot of people will grow up, can identify with mom being prim and proper. Keep your hair a certain way, dress a certain way, present yourself a certain way, which has value because you want to present yourself in the best way when you leave your home, right? But at the same time, you know, it also makes you feel like, okay, if I don't have my hair straight, then I'm not presenting myself in the right way. If I don't wear a certain dress, I'm not presenting myself in the best way. And so you get put into these little boxes. And so I grew up with that, and I kind of rebelled a little. She'll tell you that. And then, but as soon as I got out I left the Caribbean and then I moved to the US. And of course, more and more I felt that need. Okay, well, I have an accent and they're not understanding me. And am I going to be taken seriously with my traditional accent and my colloquialism and everything like that? So, of course, that starts to change. And, the hair, that starts to change, and you're not going to be taken seriously in the professional world if you don't wear your makeup a certain way. And of course I fell into that. And then a couple of years ago, it was 2020. I had no prior to that I had been on this journey kind of figuring out who am I, like what am I doing, even though I was a doctor at that particular point and
Mhm.
meeting what society deems successful. I was still on this journey of trying to figure out who am I, and not feeling like I'm living the authentic life. Um, so I decided that I was going to cut my hair.
Mhm.
And, I cut my hair for a specific reason because of, I was like, I'm not going to, put chemicals in my hair anymore. And then it evolved from there into well, who am I, like, without hair and it being processed? And
Mm.
how are people going to look at me
Mhm.
when I walk into a room and it's just me? And
Mhm.
so I had to battle with that, of course. And initially I wanted to put braids in and all these different things, and I resisted, and I just went through a 2-year journey of nothing. And it wasn't a conscious decision to put, crochet braids in my hair. It just happened over time. It was summer and I just felt the need to do something different. But in that time, I realized, like, oh my, I like me the way I am, you know,
Mm.
without makeup, without anything on. And people know me without makeup, without anything on. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I finally feel like I'm walking in this world in my authentic self. They know who I am. So if somebody is on the street and they take a picture of me and I'm not put together, well, they've
Mhm.
seen that before. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. I
Yeah.
get that. And
Yeah.
it
So
feels, how does it feel for me? For me, I'm finally comfortable in the skin that I am at the age of 48 years old. And I'm walking in my authentic self. And I remember, so what you're saying is so powerful, because I remember when there was a time where um, I didn't like who I was. And I figured that I had to search, I was searching for someone else to love who I was. So that would give me validation for me to love who I was.
right.
And it feels so good. I'm just overjoyed to hear that you say, hey, I love my authentic self. And I feel the same way, you know,
Yeah.
in regards to that. And you mentioned also about just people want to be included. They want to feel appreciated in this world, right? So this
Right.
is what this is the platform that the crossover champions is a platform where we offer that community to people. We offer a community where there's living and there's learning and there's healing for our community. So this is more than, like you said, this is more than a podcast. It's a movement. It's a movement, because
Yeah.
we're not here to judge people.
No.
We're not here to say, oh, there's a better way to do things. That's not what we're here for. We're
Right.
here to talk to people, have that conversation, right? And let them know that, hey, you can experience a breakthrough in life that you never knew was ever possible. There are possibilities, that all things are possible if you just believe. All things are possible. And so what you were saying is, once we are tapping into our authentic self, our authentic self, right? We'll understand that there is something that we are here to bring to the world. And once we tap into that authentic self, our core, and we are operating from the inside out, and we're bringing that love, we're bringing whatever it is to the world, whatever art form it is to the world, there's going to be someone that's going to receive it.
Yeah.
Because no one, and I always say this, Dr. Cassie, Dr. Andrew always say, no one can beat me being me, and no one can beat you being you, because no one has our own life experiences, right?
Right.
Can you
Exactly.
can you touch on that a little bit?
Exactly. You know, everybody there's so many nuances to everybody's walk, and
Mm,
everybody's, you know, they've been through different struggles and different adversaries at different ages, at different, you know, stages in their life that have formed them. They've gotten certain, you know, lessons that I may have not gotten from that particular situation, you know. So all of everybody's experience in life is valid. It's valid. And I think we get so caught up in being right and not realizing that there's so many ways to do the same thing and actually get to the same point too. And then, you know, the other thing I wanted to say about authenticity is that, you know, we always often think of it as just one thing. And, you know, as human beings, we're so multifaceted. We're like diamonds. You turn a diamond this way, we have a different side. We have a this. We have so many sides to us. So my authenticity today might be this, but, you know, tomorrow I might be out in the garden digging dirt and, you know, rough and tumble. That's also a part of me. That's me, you know, in being authentic. And I think so many of us, and I think women, we kind of hide the other parts of us
mm.
because we don't know if we're going to be accepted. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. And again, I wanted to say that I just love the fact that you're so embracing who you are, the beautiful, magnificent person with flaws that you are. All of that encompassed Dr. Cassie.
Yeah.
And I did hear you mention about briefly about childhood trauma.
Mhm.
And thank you so much for bringing that up. And because, you know, research indicates that um, everyone, no matter the creed, no matter the social economic background, everyone has been exposed to some type of trauma in their childhood. And that's what research indicates. And I just I wanted to just really share strongly that that person that may be listening to this podcast, that no matter what you have been through, your greatest affliction is meant to be your greatest asset. That
Absolutely.
pain point that you're dealing with is meant to be, we don't want you we don't want it to be just in vain. That pain point is for the world. So we're
Yeah.
here to help you heal. We're here to help you get through that trauma, because there is actually, and we'll get into talking about trauma and the adversity, childhood experiences, and the scores, and that you can get on that later on in our other episodes. But we just want people to know that, hey, we are here for you. And as you continue to listen to our episodes, we're going to be we're going to be digging into those childhood traumatic experiences that you may have been exposed to. And we just want you to know that although it may have hurt you, although it may have hurt, it didn't hurt you. So there's
Right.
always healing in the wings for you. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
You know, it's so interesting. Like, you know, I think everybody needs a therapist in some form. Whatever form you find your therapist, it could be your pastor, it could be whomever. Everybody needs some therapy because, you know, I would have been the first person to say, I'm fine, I'm good, I got it together, I'm all right, everything's okay. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, things started to well up, and I'm like, where's that coming from? And where's
Mm,
that coming from? And why do I approach things a certain way in life, you know? And it's from past childhood trauma. And until you start to, you know, work through them, you really can't be your authentic self, you know,
mm,
because you really have to dig deep down and deal with all those, I'm not gonna say demons, but the traumas. You gotta deal with them. And so I learned so much about myself once I started going down that journey of figuring out, okay, why do I approach certain things the way I want, the way I do? And honestly, it was freeing. So, in addition, I don't think I
Mm,
got to the decision to cut my hair. I got to that decision after the fact that I had started working through all my childhood traumas. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
they always say hair is like it holds on to history. So, I don't know if it was like a subconscious thing where I'm like, okay, it's time to cut that part of me and let it go. You know what I mean? So, I agree with, trauma being your greatest gift because, my trauma made me become a doctor. And, what I don't know what else is in store, but it is my greatest gift. It did hurt. It did hurt, but it is my greatest gift. And it helps me to realize that, pay attention to every day and be grateful for every day.
I thank you so much. That was very powerful. And you said it's our greatest gift, and you said it was so freeing. And you began to make adjustments to yourself when you start becoming more of who you were meant to be, right? So you start making adjustments, and I can definitely identify with that because once I was able to begin to unpeel that onion, those layers of pain, those layers of hurt, those layers of disappointment. And I was like, it was freeing. And I was like off with these wigs because I was actually overcompensating for what was on the outside for what was missing on the inside.
Yeah.
And as I began to get filled up on the inside, I felt like I start removing layers on the outside, right?
Yes,
Layers
ma'am.
of makeup
Yeah.
and layers of the hair. And not to say there's anything wrong with that. That's
No,
not what I'm
there's
saying.
we're multifaceted. Some days we might
Yeah,
want that, and some days we might want to be another thing.
yeah.
Problem becomes when it becomes a mask, and it is
Mm.
only you, and you're not showing the true person behind. We can get dolled up one day, and then we're back to our normal self. But the mask, and we've gotten so stuck in just presenting one thing because that's what we feel society wants from us, knows about us. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be that. You can be whomever you want to be on any day.
I like that. You said multifaceted. We're not one dimensional.
We're not one
Oh, we're
dimensional.
not. And
Yeah.
we can do the makeup, we can do the wigs, but as long as it's being our authentic self,
Right.
that's where it comes into play. And that's not what I was doing. I
Right.
was okay. I hope if I wear my hair this way, maybe they would like me even more.
Right.
If I get another degree, maybe I'll be accepted even more. And I received my doctorate, and this last degree, it was actually my first degree that I got for Dr. Andrea. The other degrees I've gotten for the first my bachelor's I got for my family. My master's I got for people that probably didn't care whether I lived or died. I just wanted to be accepted. And this
Right.
doctorate, I said, hey, this is for Dr. Andrea. This is what I want to do. Because
Right.
I feel like if I become more knowledgeable, then I can improve not only myself, but my social circle.
Right.
And
Exactly.
yeah,
Let's step aside for a second. It looks like my phone is not plugged in for some strange reason. So
okay.
my apologies.
No, and I'm going to just continue as she stepped out. She made some really really good points. Our fellow champions out there in our audience, and she talked about just freeing ourselves and becoming more of who we were meant to be. And uh, once we deal with trauma, because what happens with childhood trauma when we're born, everything is bright. As children, we are known to be so sensitive, we have such intuition. And as we continue to grow, every time that there's some type of traumatic experience, it dims our light a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And when we become adults, sometimes we're just so traumatized, we're just a shell of who we were meant to be. And so that's why I felt inclined to just start voicing who I am, how I was able to overcome trauma. And there is actually an assessment, and it's called the ACE score. And what you do is, and with the ACE score, the A stands for adverse childhood experience. And so you get a point for everything that you've actually been exposed to that was traumatic as a child. So if your parent was an alcoholic, that's 1 point. If your parent had a mental illness or a mental well-being issue, that's another point. If you were in a home where there was a divorce or abandonment, that's another point. And most people, well, maybe 70% of the people, 80% has a score of 1. But that was about 20 years ago. But right now, most people, all people have a score of 1, at least 1. However, if you have a score of 4 or more, you typically, research indicates, and this is so true, that you're either going to end up with an alcohol problem, an alcoholic, or you're going to have a substance abuse problem. Because when people have a substance, for example, when people have a substance abuse problem, they say, I need to get a fix. Well, they're trying to fix what happened to them that was broken in their childhood. And that's what the fix is about. And for me, I was looking at the ACE assessment and the score, and I realized that I almost had a perfect, because you get a score from 0 to 10, and my score was like a 9 or a 10. And I said, oh my God, but it was just by the grace of God why I was not addicted to alcohol, why I didn't have a substance abuse problem. And I was trying to figure out, well, I really believe in this. I believe this research that if you have a score of 4 or more, that you will succumb to alcoholism or a substance abuse. And I could not figure out, I was like, why was I not a person that succumbed to those issues? Not only was the grace of God, but also, and it was the fact that after so many traumatic experiences, our bodies just can't even take it anymore, right? And so I lost access to my emotions. I lost access to my emotions, family, champions. I lost access to my emotions, meaning that I became numb. So I didn't need a fix. I didn't need a fix of alcohol. I didn't need a fix of any type of substances because I didn't feel anything. I wasn't a narcissist, but I was very robotic. Even my friends that hung with me throughout the years, they were like, I tell them now, I'm like, hey, I'm a human now. I can feel, and I said, it feels really good. Sometimes I'm crying, like, oh my God, things are near and dear to my heart and I got tears, I'm emotional. And it feels really good to feel again, And so I just wanted to say, champions out there. So I lost access to my emotions. And by losing access to my emotions, there was no need for self-medication. So a lot of times we deal with alcohol because that is our fix. We're trying to self-medicate. We're trying to fix ourselves. We deal with substance abuse because we're trying to fix ourselves. There was nothing I felt I need to fix because I had no emotions. I didn't feel that. And by the time I was 18, I had lost 2 siblings to murder, one at 12, one when I was 15 years old. And so I just wanted to share that because Dr. Cassie brought up about freeing yourselves. And I was able to just working hard on myself and do personal development, which is totally different than intellect, right? And just working on my emotions, working on my mental well-being, I was able to free myself. I was able to release that trauma and be a human again, become more of who I was meant to be. And that's what we're here for you, champions. Dr. Cassie, I was just talking about, some childhood trauma and how I was able to work through some things. And I'm not saying that I have arrived, but I am becoming more each and every day. I'm becoming more of who I was meant to be. Can you tell us where, and just tell us, how do you approach adversity? You know.
So my apologies to stepping away for a minute. I thought I had everything plugged in, but apparently I didn't. Um,
And that
so
happens.
yeah. So how do I approach adversaries? You know, the one thing that I keep in the back of my mind is that even though I'm going through difficulties, you know, even though it's raining, you know, the sun is still shining above. And at the end of it all, you know, the clouds will clear and the sun will come out again. And I always think of it as there's something I need to be learning in this process, because we just don't go through things just for so easy for me to say, but I've been through a few things. But there's always a lesson at the end of it all. And you know, unfortunately, we want life to be easy, and life just isn't that way. It just
Mm,
isn't easy. And so if we approach it from that standpoint that, you know, this too shall pass, and I'm going to learn something out of it,
mhm,
and I'm going to try to walk through it with the least resistance I possibly can, um, then it'll be a lot easier. The more we resist, the more difficult things
mm,
are. For example, you get in quicksand, the more you resist, the deeper you sink. It's when you kind of just
mm,
let go a little bit. That's how you free yourself from quicksand. And it's the
mm,
same thing with life, you know, if you walk through things with less resistance, it's a little bit easier. And the resistance comes from the fact that we want things the way we want things to be. And unfortunately, they're not going to be the way that I want them to be, or I think they should be. And so once I started to let go of the fact that that's how life is, and things got a little bit easier. Doesn't mean I don't go through adversaries. I just keep in mind it's going to pass. Something's good is going to come out of this. And I just need to kind of relax into the discomfort.
wow. Dr. Cassie, you said a mouthful. You mentioned resistance, and that's the operative word, resistant. And we look at water. Water just flows. We should be like water. It just flows.
Oh,
And then when we try to turn water the way that it's not flowing, what happens? It's always a disaster.
always a disaster.
We have to let it flow. Like, we have to allow life to flow. And you were saying that with the resistance, it's because we are resisting the flow of nature.
Of nature. Yeah.
And we want to, so you're suggesting to our champions out there to just, life should be harmonious.
Yes. If
We,
you find that you're meeting up so much resistance, and maybe it's you have to change your trajectory. It
mm,
might be that you have to change careers. It may be that you have to ultimately change your life altogether, and that who wants to do that? Who
yes.
wants to do that? But sometimes, you know, it's not, we can't change the world. We have to change ourselves. That's the only thing we can control.
Absolutely. And I definitely concur with that. I always like to say, because when people hear the word change, they kind of like, freeze up. And I always, I like just to tell myself, I'm just becoming more of who I was meant to be. And if that's changing, then so be it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how we're able to experience those breakthroughs in life. And I remember one of my mentors was saying to me, a lot of times we say, I want to do this better, I want to do that better, but um, when our life isn't working. And so they were saying, well, what would make you want to do something better if your life isn't working? So you're going to improve upon what you're doing that's not working.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times what we do is we're doing things that's not working, but because we're afraid of creating something different, because we don't know about that uncertainty, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to support those champions out there that are listening to our podcast, to let them know that all things are possible and you can create something different. And guess what? You're not going to die if you do. It's going
Yeah.
to work out in your favor most of the time. And it's just the law of nature, right? Because it's all about how we plan. If we plant a tomato seed and we cultivate and we nurture it, you're going to grow a tomato plant.
Yep.
So when we are planting things, in our lives, and if we don't necessarily get the outcome that we desired or intended, all we have to do is go back and adjust what we planted. Maybe we need to add more water.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs a little bit more light. And that's what you talked about, that breakthrough, that freeing. And when we add that more light, which is God, and we remove some of those more of those layers, our life begins to work.
And not only do we resist it because of fear of doing something different, sometimes
Mm,
our ego gets in the way of, well, people know me to do this, and what are they gonna think? And
mm,
and we have to get away from the fact that, yeah, we care about what people think. I mean, who doesn't? But not care about it so much where it dictates every move in our life. I want my mom to think she want to be proud of me, but at the end of the day, I want to be the best Cassandra possible. And sometimes that may not align with what mom wants from me. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
or what mom thinks I should be doing, or, what a friend thinks I should be doing. Like, so sometimes it's just our ego. So
Absolutely. And I do concur. I do concur with that. We kind of see that ego, and I tend to call that a little bit of arrogance for me. And and
we
I
all
had
got
to, yeah, and I had to go back because I was like, hey, every time I, get a little arrogant and I go before the person who I feel is greater than I am, which is why I call God. I tend to fall on my face, and it hurts and it's embarrassing. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna. That's not what I want to do, And I have to submit and humble myself and say, really, what is the God's divine plan, for my life? And go back to the drawing board,
right.
the blueprint rather, because there's already a plan already, devised for us. And I just go back to the
Absolutely.
blueprint. And
Absolutely. I have fell on my face whew, hard a couple of times when I
yeah,
depart from what I without when I didn't ask for input, when I didn't ask for counsel from above, honestly. And so now any major endeavors or any changes that I'm thinking of implementing, I always ask for, guidance and ask, is this really what I should be doing? You know, if it comes with a lot of resistance where I'm pushing through and pushing really hard, then I know I'm going in the wrong direction. Because again, as you say, water flows in the area of least resistance. And if everything is falling and flowing and coming easily, then I know it is what it's supposed to be. I mean, keeping in mind I asked for guidance.
that's very powerful, because you said that, if it's what, because when it becomes hard, we know it's all in us, right? It's all in us. And but you like you said, when it's free flowing, where it's coming from above. And
Yeah.
not to say there won't be any challenges, and I don't like to put labels on life, because not to say it won't be any challenges, because challenges build character, right?
Yeah,
Challenges build
absolutely.
faith. Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Even though you're going in the right direction, you may have those little hurdles, bumps, you again, water flows in the direction of least resistance, but you're going over some boulders sometimes and creating some rapids in your life sometimes.
yes, absolutely.
You got to go over the rapids, and that doesn't mean
Yes.
that those bumps and rapids is a bad thing or you're heading in the wrong direction. Sometimes it just happens.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you a question about that, Dr. Cassie, when you talked about going over those stones that's in the water and the rapids, and would you say, in your opinion, Dr. Cassie, that those things that we go through, have they all worked out for your benefit, for your good?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have.
Can
They've
you give us
always
an
worked out in my
example of what
always worked
happened?
out in my benefit. Let me think of an example. So actually, when I always thought I was going to be a doctor from 8. I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. And then, around 12, 13, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a pathologist. I'm going to be a pathologist. This is what I'm going to do. So from high school on, I just want to be a pathologist. I want to be a pathologist. Like I was so tunnel visioned on this. And then I ended up in family medicine. And I don't think I would be the person I am today if I didn't end up in family medicine, because in pathology, I'm sitting behind a microscope and I'm taking care of specimens. Nothing against that. But only in becoming a family doctor did I learn how to be compassionate to the next person. Only as a family doctor did I start to see that everybody's going through the same thing. Everything that I've learned is because of me ending up into family medicine. That's divine. That's divine.
Mhm.
That's God. You know what I mean? Because
Yes,
if it was up to me, I would still be fighting to be a pathologist.
yes,
Um,
yes.
but I ended up in family medicine, and honestly, it turned out to be the best decision for me.
And that's very powerful because you said you said only in family medicine were you able to, and I'm going to use this word, I'm going to sum up what you said, you were able to provide that healing for people. And so even on this platform and people that are listening, under the sound of our voice, I believe that there are some things that they're getting healed from just by the sound of your voice,
Mm.
just by hearing from you. So not only are you in your day-to-day profession that you're providing healing services to your clients, but even in our audience with the champions, our champions that are listening, you're actually providing healing as well. You're letting people know that thank God you don't look like what you've been through, because we are like the finished product, and everybody say, oh, Dr. Andrea don't understand. She hasn't been through this. She hasn't been through that. And when I began to share, my trauma had been so extensive as a child. I have to preface my traumatic experience before I even say them. I say, hey, now this may be a trigger for some of you. I want you to know that before I even make any, before I start the conversation. But if you stay and you listen, I can guarantee you that you will be healed from the words that I'm going to say to you. So would you like to add anything regarding to this phase in your life where you feel like you're talking, you're having this discussion, you're having this conversation, and you feel like those words that you're saying, that you're projecting to people are words of healing?
Yeah, honestly, I never thought I would be at this point in my life. You always start off and think, okay, I have these dreams, and I've been through so many meanders and detours and walking backwards, and again, my hope is that nothing to the words I'm hoping, and the sentiment that I'm hoping to present is that nothing's perfect. You're going to go through a lot of difficulties in life. You're going to get through them. You're going to be triumphant, and you're going to be a testimony to somebody else, and you're going to help them on their journey. So, just keep going through it, keep working on yourself, and you'll get to the other side.
Awesome, awesome. And we're going to get ready to wrap it up, but I want you to talk about something before we close. I want you to talk about something that most affected your life and how you were able to overcome that.
Hmm. Well, my biggest wounding and how I became a doctor was when I was 6. My brother passed away and actually got hit by a car in our yard on Mother's Day right in front of my eyes. Yeah. So, that's my eternal wounding. And, I had pushed that experience so far down. I didn't even know it was there.
And
I
how old
pushed it.
was your brother at the time?
He was 3.
Mm,
Yeah. And I mean, that happened in front of my eyes. And, you know, I did not realize that I kind of stopped living the moment he passed away. I kind of numbed myself in a way. And then, only now have I started to live again and, live freely because everything was, well, if I have fun, something bad's gonna happen. And, if
mm,
I enjoy this, something bad's gonna happen. And, that I had to overcome that and also overcome, that yes, I couldn't save him, but that's okay. He's not here. That's
mm.
okay. He touched my life in so many ways, you know what I mean? So that was the one of the biggest hurdles that I had to get over because it touched so many different part of my life that I didn't even think about, didn't even know about. But I was able to get over that, and I see him as a light in my life, and he was brought here to touch my life and push me in a certain trajectory because without him I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I give honor to
Mm.
that situation because it made me who I am, and hopefully I will help somebody in the future, and that's because of him.
Wow, that's powerful. And you are absolutely, at this present moment, you are helping people right now that are listening, that are going to be listening to our podcast. And you're actually, in every conversation, every connection that we have with people is there's some type of meaning in it, I believe, whatever meaning that we maybe subscribe to it, but there's something that we should be getting from that positive, right? And I like how you said that you had to get overcome, right? You had to cross over and overcome the fact that you thought something bad was going to happen. And that was so me because I was so traumatized. I felt that if I start really living my life, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Drop. Yeah.
I was there up until recently. I was there and I had to, work through that. And it was very painful. And when you said that, maybe you beat yourself up because you couldn't save him, that was me as well. My sister was 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, my big sister was 2021, and I watched her and she was in a domestic violence relationship with her new husband, and she was babysitting me. So I watched it, and she was screaming and said, he's going to kill me. And I didn't know how to save her, and I didn't know how to help her. And 7 years later, she was stabbed to death in a domestic violence situation. And at that moment, I became a victim. And I was like, it was my fault, because I didn't save her when I was 8 years old. And I just went around life and as just this victim, and so I had to overcome all of that. And I buried her, because I carried that pain, and I carried that because, I'm going to save her one day.
Yeah.
And this year I buried her. I had, just me and I'm just being with myself and sitting with the pain, and I'll put her to rest, and she's at peace and I'm at peace. And I say it's not my fault, and it's not our fault. Trauma is never our fault, but a lot of times we carry that shame. We
Yeah.
carry that guilt. We
We
carry the weight, that burden,
Yes,
and
we
it's
do.
not ours to carry. It is not
Yes.
ours to carry. So anybody that's carrying the weight, the shame, the pain, the disappointment of any type of trauma, we say, just go and just sit and quietly in a place and just
Process it.
release it. Yeah. Close that door of the past so you can live in your present.
So you can live and experience joy.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And again, this is Dr. Cassie, our crossover champion. And before we let her go, she is definitely going to share with us. And we want to say that a crossover champion for us, it relates to moving forward in all types of adversity, moving forward in life, because a lot of times, we become stuck. A lot of
Yep.
times we become stuck, right, Dr. Cassie?
Yes, definitely.
And
Definitely.
for those of us, we have the three people. We have people that are moving along in their path and their divine purpose, and they're just looking for a lot more inspiration. We have those people that are stuck, and then we have those people that are like, okay, what am I to do? What is my next move? But can you share with each one of those people, if a person is stuck, what word would you give them, Dr. Cassie, to get unstuck? What word would you give them to help them become that crossover champion and move in intentionally? And every move that they make is a move closer to where they are meant to be.
I don't know if I have one word, but I would say that you have to ask a question. And the question needs to be, what is it do I want from this life? What is it that I want? And it's not about like what will make me happy and I want this bag or what what is it that I want from this universe? What is it? And I think a lot of us don't ask that question.
Mm,
Like, what is it that you want? I don't, if I would say a few years back, I didn't necessarily know exactly what I wanted. Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor.
mhm,
I achieved
mhm,
that. I got there and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't feeling exactly like what I wanted to be, what I thought it
mm.
was going to be. And then I really asked the question, like, what is it that I want? And then, the answer came. So yeah, ask yourself, what is
That's,
it that
that's,
you want?
and that's powerful. Now tell me, in closing, how did asking that question be a game changer for you? How did that transform your life?
Because it made me really think about like, okay, what is it that I want, not what my parents say I should have been, what society thinks I should have been, or what my family or whomever is in my circle. It really made me think about who I am deep down inside. What brings me joy? What brings me passion?
Mm,
What makes me passionate? And then move from there. So I think, and then from there, once you figure out what it is that you want and what it is that you want to be doing with your life, if you find it valuable, somebody else is going to find it valuable. You know, if you go into it and give your 100 and give quality to it, somebody's going to find it of value and you're going to be successful.
that's powerful. Well, we really want to thank you for joining us today, Dr. Cassie. We thank you for your words of encouragement. We thank you so much for your words of empowerment. We thank you for your presence, and we are so honored to have had you on our show today for our first ever Crossover Champion episode.
Well, can I say one thing? So
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for having me. And, before we got to, the podcast, we were chatting and, I said, this is so different, so typically outside my comfort zone. And, but I'm willing to do it. But I wanted to just say that Dr. Andrea is a light. She came into my life so serendipitously and I know and I feel from her true intention is to share and to help another person. And some people, you meet them and it's all about the financial gain, but this is not her. And you know you guys support her and support her mission, because it's going to help so many people, and we don't have many people walking through this life thinking about helping other people. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, you make me get emotional here. And thank you so much. And if I feel that if I can help just one person, I feel that my life would be fulfilled, because who knows how many that one person, how many people they would actually help and touch others' lives.
Yeah.
And I just I went through a lot of pain, And if I can help someone by interrupting the patterns of their childhood trauma that they're engaging in that they may not even be aware of,
Yeah.
I would feel that my life would be fulfilled.
Well, I think you're well on your way, honestly.
Okay. Bye, guys. And thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you again here on the Crusade Cross, the Crossover Champions. We are definitely Crusaders, the Crossover Champions on Tuesdays, every Tuesday.